Today, we're continuing the conversation with the T.H.E.M.E.S Agenda, which Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is really driving on. And last week, we started that conversation. Of course, we kicked off what we refer to as T.H.E.M.E.S Agenda this week, which you can always catch up on this frequency, 4:15 every Wednesdays. But today, we are going to be reflecting much more and dwelling on that to the next level. And who else is better suited to take us through that discourse other than the Honourable Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget as we actually reflect on this. So it's nice to have Honourable Sam Egube join us on the studio this morning.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You listen to us?
Sure.
You do?
I do. I listen to you. I listen to the program. I mean, you can't cope with traffic without you.
Without, right. And what do you make of Lagos Traffic Radio, by the way?
Well, it's very instructive, very clear, very timely, and it's like the hand holding you through the dark.
Right. Nice that you're making this comment about us. Thank you so much for that. Last week, we started the conversation on the six-pillared agenda of which is the themes which Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is actually running on. So let's rewind a bit to dissect it in its proper form. Give us an overview of this agenda and what it was set out to achieve.
Okay, basically there are six. There are six pillars. One is traffic management and transportation. The other is health and environment. Then you have education and technology. You then have making Lagos a 21st century city, and then entertainment and tourism, and the last being security and governance. But it's important that we understand that these pillars do not sit in the air.
Okay.
It is sitting on the foundation of citizens' participation. Right, and citizens' engagement. The idea when the government came into power was to say, listen, you can't love the people the way you want to love them. You need to love them the way they want to be loved. That means you needed a very clear understanding of what their needs were and where the pinch was in their own shoes.
Right.
And therefore, you see a lot of things going on around engaging to try and understand better what the people really are talking about. So right now we're undertaking what we call the consultative forum as we build up for the 2021 budget. That engagement is important. The other thing is what we call collaboration with governments.
Right.
In other words, we must respect that there are various levels of government, and we must build very strong relationships with them, whether it's the federal government, other state governments, local government, because we believe when there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of value can be created in that process.
Right.
So we'll then have the six things, T.H.E.M.E.S Agenda.
Yes, I'm still going to come to what you just said now about collaboration and, of course, citizen participation. But you need to break this T.H.E.M.E.S Agenda. So let's talk about the components now.
Okay, so the first one is traffic management and transportation.
Yes.
Which is key. Moving from place to place is very key to economic development. When people move, business is done, transactions are made. And so we received from the people, firstly, that traffic management and transportation was a key element of what they desired out of government. Therefore, it is about establishing a multimodal transportation system, running a rail system, our water system, running our road system in a way that people pull together and mass transportation is easy, and then we can switch from one mode to another mode seamlessly with our unified payment systems, and help ease traffic transportation.
Right.
That meant also that we must take down everything that causes traffic, all the gridlock junctions and all that, retune our roundabouts into well-controlled traffic points to ease all of that. And a lot of that is going on right now as I speak.
Okay, then.
The second one is health and environment. The idea here is that we must first deal with the preventive posturing of government before we go to the curative side of it.
What does that mean?
What that means is that if your environment is fantastic, the likelihood of people to get sick is less. We're talking about air quality, waste, solid waste disposals, open defecation, all those other kind of habits which we have. And that's why we encourage our people regularly, right, to not only watch for themselves, but to watch for their neighbors and encourage everyone to fall in line.
Right.
When you look at our drains, you see that it's full of all kinds of rubbish. It's people putting those rubbish there, right? So we need to correct all of that and drive that. Now, on the health side, the health is sitting on two pillars. One is accessibility to health, which is what I call the supply side of our health systems. In other words, we want to ensure that the health infrastructure in all our PHCs, primary healthcare centers around the state is spanking fit for purpose. And also that we are able to drive people to use those facilities so that we reduce the pressure on our secondary and our tertiary healthcare systems. In that line, there's a lot of innovation that are going to be triggering off to ensure that the facilities are okay and then they are well equipped for that. But if people do not go, then the healthcare system fails. And one of the reasons why people may not go, even if the healthcare systems are closed, is their ability to pay. So we're encouraging the Lagos Insurance Health Insurance Scheme, where we say everybody should register. It doesn't matter whether you use the government facilities or those facilities or not. We must be our brother's keepers. The way insurance works is that everybody coming in is able to subsidize those who are unable.
So we are in a pool.
We are in a pool, exactly. So that we are ramping up and we are encouraging everybody to register so that we take it up the number of enumeration to just ensure the entire health system is stable and is thriving.
So that's the second component.
Yes, please.
So the third is education and technology.
So this is about improving access to education, not just education, but quality of education in a manner that it is useful to industry. So we don't just train people that come out and nobody's asking for their services. So that integration is important. And we said we would, first of all, rehabilitate the schools. And we have about 300 within view to do in this year. That has also started. But the second also is to train the teachers. Because the teachers, if they are unable to train the students, then you get wrong outcome, even if the infrastructure is fantastic. So we've deployed technology. You've heard probably of the Eco-Excel project, where we put in a lot of technology in the hands of primary school teachers that will help guide the way they move through the lessons, ensure there's children participation, and then move us a little bit forward.
So by technology here, are we talking about smart devices that you're giving them, or what kind of technology are you deploying?
We're talking about smart devices that will have in them teacher's guide. It will also help administer their work. So if they came to school, for example, they don't need to sign anything for their presence to be recognized.
So the child already know.
It will just synchronize with a central database that they are in the school vicinity. And it will help us also track the way they are going through lessons. So if a teacher is very good in English and knows nothing about maths, he tends to teach English all day long. But now we can track to say, how are you progressing from the English lesson to the arithmetic lesson and so on, and we can do that remotely.
And is this available in all the public schools?
So we've started the pilot phase. We're starting with some schools, so we'll hit like a third of the schools and then migrate it. We'll get it to every school.
All right. So
now, but also technology is important because we need to use technology as a tool to leverage education. But beyond that, we need technology to thrive as a major employment hub for the state, So we're putting out our broadband infrastructure. We have about 3,000 kilometers of broadband fiber ducts going all over Lagos State. Right now. And it is private sector led, private sector financed. What that does is that to bring high-speed internet into the homes and into the public spaces and into the offices. It will also facilitate technological participation. So our technology whiz kids can stay out here in Nigeria and do technology work for people around the world. Without any interference.
All right, I'll come to how far you've gone with that, really. But let's quickly dwell on the next component, making Lagos a 21st century economy. Now, this is something which is very critical. I know that even the past administrations have equally been anchoring on this, how Lagos can become a major player in world economy. So how is the Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu driving this particular component?
Well, this sits on several themes. Basically, it sits on the ease of doing business. And ease of doing business is looking at how easy it is to register businesses locally, what its titling looks like. You recall Mr. Governor decentralized the signing of titles among several commissioners for speed. We are currently trying to digitize the entire land process to make it easy access, easy retrieval, easy searches.
Okay.
We are working on the ease of doing business. We've made significant amount of progress. It's what signals the reforms which we are going to be having in Lagos.
Right.
But it also where you see our smart city initiative riding on top of our technology broadband solution, so that using cameras around, we can help monitor what's going around and helps our security infrastructure.
What about
but it is here also that you begin to talk of things around power.
Okay.
Things around what we want to do around food reserves and production of food. Where it's here we begin to talk of housing and urban renewal work.
Right. So let me come to that aspect of power, which you just mentioned right now, because without power, we cannot really be a major player. So in that regard, what is the Lagos State government going to be doing to ensure that it has its own power that can be sufficient and can drive this smart city initiative?
Well, the power infrastructure, power systems and agreements in Nigeria is quite complicated. It's in the hands of GENCOs, DISCOs, and Transiscos, transmission companies. But what we intend to do as government, we believe that we must be at the forefront and drive the narrative. So we're having all kinds of negotiations with the DISCOs. You will understand, I'm sure if you follow the news, there's a lot more power that can come into Lagos than what the DISCOs are taking, because they are unable, right, to transmit all that power and get the bills out, because of all kinds of issues from the absence of metering and the rest. What Lagos State will do is to partner with the DISCOs and ensure meters go to the people, right, and then to create franchise kind arrangements with the DISCOs to just ensure that we take out more power and get those power in, so that there will be investment
so how far
into the distribution
so how
side.
far have we gone with that?
It's a tough negotiation, but I think the DISCOs are beginning to see reasons why power must come to Lagosians, and they are becoming a little more amenable to our solutions and our thoughts.
All right, this component is very, very broad, really, and I know that there's so many things that will key into it. But let's just switch to the next, which is entertainment and tourism. Of what potentials we have in this particular component?
Well, our entertainment industry and with little government support has shown that they have the gravitas to become a hub in Africa. You hear our music all over the world, and it was the intention of the Babajide Sanwo-Olu administration. Mr. Governor said, let us give them some support, and let us see how further they can go. So we'll be giving them, we have engaged them very actively. There's a lot of support that is required from the infrastructure side. So we are looking at ways by which we can partner to get around a film city, that will help administer and train people and basically put the structure around to make it easy. But basically it's to facilitate this, but there's a lot of training here. So if you look at our universities today, a lot of the training there on the theater arts side is focused a lot on stage, But there's a lot going on the film side, and therefore we feel that we need to do a lot of training to create expertise, because they are a huge employer of labor. And so once those expertise come, we can create the platform by which investors then ride on to put in a lot of the investment required to make that happen.
Yeah, so somebody gave an analysis some years back to say that the entertainment industry in Lagos, or perhaps is as huge as maybe like $800 million annually. Can you quantify that? Is that correct?
Well, it's potentially even more than that. But if you do not organize the sector, you will not see where the money is. And if you can't see where the money is, it will not attract the kind of investment, which is what we will do working with the government to create pathways and systems around which that industry can thrive. We need to create programs on our tourism to have a yearly calendar of what is happening and ensure our heritage centers are up to speed with receiving guests.
All right, I know Lagos still remains the number one in Nigeria when we talk about tourism, really. But let's
don't forget we're aquatic splendor.
That is it. That's what it's called.
So we need to harness all of that.
All right, and the last component here is security and good governance, right?
Well, this ties everything on. I mean, without security and good governance, every other thing falls like a pack of cards. Right. So it's important that the security for Lagos has been relatively stable. There's a lot that needs to be done in the area of order. right? When you have a mega city like this, you always have things around, challenges around order. But we are moving the envelope. The Commissioner of Attorney General of the state and the Commissioner for Justice is fixing that. And you see that he's intervening directly in a lot of the things. And our entire security infrastructure, working together with the police and other security machines, are beginning to bring improved order. That also has a lot to do with habits, and we need to also begin to do a lot of advocacy around that. But on the governance side, we want Lagos to be more accessible to citizens. So we are developing and fine-tuning our Citizen Gates portal to ensure that there's more direct connection. We have an office called the Office of Civic Engagement, so that we can assess government, we can share our thoughts on government, and we can be part of it. We're also ensuring that we are migrating gradually. When we talked about the EGIS system for the land registry, it's all in the need to ensure that there's a digitization that is going on within government that makes governance easy and makes the communication between the citizens and the government extremely strong.
Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. I have with me in the studio Honourable Sam Egube, who is the Honourable Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget. And if you're wondering why he's speaking so eloquently on the T.H.E.M.E.S agenda, perhaps he has it at the back of his hands. All right, then. So traffic-wise, things are still moving very, very smooth on the third mainland bridge. Is still very good. Ikorodu Road, slow but moving traffic. If you're coming in from Ikorodu, approaching mile 12 down to K2 Kushofe, watch out. It's a construction corridor, like we do say, so some little patience is required. Lagos Abeokuta Expressway also receding with the same kind of slow but moving traffic within that particular location. And of course, if you are around Ikeja, it's still appreciably good. Honourable Egube, let's narrow things down now to your own ministry, which is the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. Under which component of this agenda does the ministry fall?
Well, basically, we are in. So, economic and budget is a very interesting one. It's a statewide ministry. Our situation is under security and governance.
Okay.
It's our job to ensure that the strategy of government is aligned with the development plan. And we create performance management systems to just ensure that we engage with all the MDAs to ensure we're doing exactly all that we need to do.
And these are some of your core responsibilities? Also?
Exactly. We're also responsible for the budget. And what the budget fundamentally means actually is to try and allocate resources to support those strategies in the priority areas, and then to ensure that we're getting the kind of outcomes, right, that those spends are supposed to bring. We're getting value for money, and we have the statistical infrastructure to ensure we're able to measure economic and social outcomes of the entire effort of government.
And for those who are listening to you right now, they're not very much familiar with that ministry. How many agencies, departments do you have within that, or that are domiciled in that ministry?
About 5.
5?
Yeah, we have the budget, we have economic planning, we have the Lagos Bureau of Statistics, we have what we call monitoring and evaluation department, and then we have some specialized unit. We have the Department for Development Partnerships, where we administer and coordinate granting around Lagos. And then we have some units, right, like the units in charge of building the social register for the vulnerable households in Lagos. Right, and that is doing quite well. But there are other support units like human resources and administration that just ensures everybody is okay, working well, and the staff situation is well orchestrated and organized.
All right, so you mentioned the budget, which you guys are solely responsible. I mean, that's one of your major pivotal roles that you perform for the state. And I know that the pandemic came with nobody's knowledge, perhaps, let me put it that way. So the current trend right now is that the coronavirus pandemic, came in and then wreaked havoc. So when you look at the budget and looking at how it is for Lagos, how have we performed, or how are we performing? This is the 8th month of the year, by the way.
Sure. Well, what I would say is that we did well given the circumstance. If you looked a little bit at the pandemic, what we expected was a big hit, but we still, on the revenue side, did about 81%. That was very cheering, basically coming from our capital receipts. But if you looked, IGR did about 61%.
Okay.
Our capital receipts overperformed because we had early in the year achieved certain milestone that made a difference.
So the pandemic notwithstanding, we're still faring well.
We held out.
Oh.
But because of the lockdown, we were unable to deploy on the expenditure side. Okay. So you find out that our spend overall stood at 57%, which is, I would say, in the circumstance, will be average, if not above average, because many things could not move.
Right. And I know because of the pandemic as well, aggregately, the government had to more or less narrow its figure down in terms of the budget. Is that correct?
Oh, certainly. When you look at it generally, you understand that there were a lot of things happening. We thought that GDP for Lagos would go down dramatically to a minus 3.75%. And what that meant was that there was going to be clearly a reduction in the budget. And I'm happy that we've performed at the level at which we've performed, and we're expecting a huge upturn going into 2021.
Right.
But there was a reduction on the revenue side to 812 by about 24%.
Okay.
And we consolidated, it was fiscal consolidation, and we felt, okay, that the expenditure side with a little bit of increase on the fiscal funding will come down to 920.
Right.
And what that meant was that we needed to reorder and reprioritize the budget in favor of outcomes that will ensure that the impact of the pandemic is less than it would have been if we just continued on the
so
street. So
for the average man on the streets, there's no need for any panic to say that Lagos is broke, right?
Lagos is not broke. Lagos cannot be broke, but Lagos can do much better if more people begin to participate and take on their civic responsibilities.
So let's talk about that.
Taxes.
So let's talk about that now, because earlier on we were trying to make reference to citizen participation. So in what areas can the citizens really be part of this T.H.E.M.E.S agenda to really ensure that government attains its maximum, what it has laid down for its achievements?
Okay, so the first thing we really want is that citizens must understand that their influence goes beyond the role they play in the ballot box. They must know that we are sent here as government to represent them, and therefore their voice needs to be heard. They need to take more interest in the things that concerns leadership in the state, and we are open to hear that. But the second thing is that there's no amount of development that can come into a place without revenues going up. Right? The truth is that Lagos State revenue generation machine is very strong, but we are just 2% of GDP. If you are looking at us and you are comparing us with other African countries, the average for Africa is 17%.
We're just 2%.
We are just 2%.
A far cry.
A very far cry. It means that we have potential to do at least 5 times more than what we are doing right now. Right? There's a lot of people are not paying the right level of taxes, and we need to encourage Lagosians that this is your equity in the state called Lagos.
Right.
And therefore, we should encourage everyone to participate very actively in tax paying. You should see that the more developed countries get the more taxation out of their people.
Right.
So if you are well capitalized as a state in terms of the kind of taxes the people bring in, and the equity of the people is strong, then there's no reason for the infrastructure gaps that are required not to be breached very quickly. And Mr. Governor is very dedicated to this. There are very significant progress in the things we are going to pull off in this administration, that Lagos will be proud of those they've selected.
Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. All right, then, I have with me in the studio Honourable Sam Egube. Of course, he's the Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget. And we are taking the seal of T.H.E.M.E.S Agenda, the Economic Planning and Budget template. All right, then, so we're going to expand the discourse much beyond the studios now to also have your input. Perhaps you have 1 or 2 areas, or you want to speak with the Commissioner, or perhaps talk to him on 1 or 2 things that he must have made reference to. You can feel free to join the conversation right now on 0809 912 0777. Okay, that's 08099 120 777. That's 777. You'll be live with us in the studio. You can also make your comments, put them on our Facebook, and then we'll also react to it Our Twitter handle at Lagos Traffic 961. And of course, you can connect with us right now as we take the discourse much beyond the studio. You can talk to us. By the way, the commissioner is here, and he'll be very much willing to also respond to any of your concerns as it relates to what we are making reference to. All right, so while those calls are while we expect those calls, let's still give you the last report, which we got. Lagos Abeokuta Expressway is still receiving with heavy but moving traffic, especially from the Dokpamu underneath the bridge corridor, approaching Cement and down to National. It remains like that, but beyond that point, it gets better. Third Milan Bridge is still very good. Ikorodu Road, busy but moving traffic experience there. Let's take this one. Hello there, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir. How are you, sir?
Very good. Who am I speaking with?
God bless you. I'm speaking with Samuel from Uwe.
Samuel, and I have another Samuel in the studio as well.
Oh, that's good. Thank God.
All right.
Please, I want to talk to the commissioner, please.
The commissioner is here. He's listening to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, God bless you. I've been hearing what you've been talking and discussing so far. I'm really enjoying the program.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but we really need to deal with some issues that in that Lagos. For example,
You are in Lagos, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in Lagos.
So in this Lagos.
I live in Lagos 2 years.
Yes.
I'm doing my business in Lagos.
Fantastic.
I drive Uber and taxify.
Now, you already said it's too loud, Sam, so we can hardly hear you very well. You need to move away from your radio.
Okay, I'm away from there, sir.
Okay, go ahead then.
Yeah, I drive taxify. I drive Uber in Lagos.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is that there are some miscreants inside that Lagos. So many places. They are in Yaba, they are in Oshodi area, they are in Mushin. There are so many areas that they disturb people, and they will talk to you. They will say you are white people here. If you want to receive a call, driving someone wants to receive a call, is it not good to pull over? Pull over, receive your call, and keep in. As you pull over, they will just come. They will arrest you. They will 30,000, 40,000. They touch you. They do to people every day. People cry about it every day.
Okay, so you want the commissioner to respond to the miscreants.
If you don't address that, that could be kind of hindrances to getting Lagos to the next level.
Okay.
Like you said, we need to get Lagos to the next level, smart city.
Right. Okay then.
Yeah.
All right, we've taken note of that. Yeah. We've taken note of that, Sam. Thank you so much, and sure that the commissioner will respond to your concern. He's talking about hoodlums and, of course, social miscreants who extort motorists. But let's take some more before we get back to the commissioner to respond to any of these concerns. Hello, good morning. Hello there.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please turn down the volume of that radio.
Okay, I'm doing that.
Okay. Who am I speaking with?
Weekend now.
Who am I speaking with?
Peter Adebayo is my name.
All right, Peter Adebayo. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Ikorodu.
All right, go ahead then.
Yeah, I think it's a very nice program, and I must commend the efforts of you guys. You are doing very well. And the government is also trying its best. And I think I need to emphasize this. There is need for more accountability and transparency in governance. That will keep you with very strong hope in the hearts of taxpayers.
Okay.
A lot of people are tax averse, particularly in Nigeria, because they are not seeing the impacts of their tax payment. So if government can live up to the expectation of more transparency and accountability, so that people will see, willingly you discover that people are going to be paying taxes. And I know Lagos State, like you said, has greater potential to even do far above what we are doing. 2% is far small, in terms of, compared with GDP. So Lagos State has potential to also do 15%.
Okay.
So I want to encourage, as much as government is doing well, I want to encourage more transparency and accountability in governance.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. You guys are good job.
Thank you very much for your comment. Transparency, accountability needed for Lagos to drive to the next level if we are looking at the themes agenda. All right, we're still taking some more before we get back to the commissioner. You can make your thoughts, put it across to us, and I'm sure the commissioner will respond as well. 0809 912 0777. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Victor.
Good morning. Who am I speaking with?
Yes, my name is Muyiwa. I'm calling from Lagos-Ibadan Expressway at the moment.
Nice to hear from you, Muyiwa. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to point the direction of the commissioner to some things that I feel can sabotage all the beautiful plans they have for Lagos, Okay. Number one is that is there a plan for all these miscreants, in quote now, that we are about at different places? Of course, we know they are everywhere. But is there a plan to reduce their activities? Okay, because one way or the other, they can deter investors from coming into Lagos. That's number one. Number two is that with respect to local government activity, that is, I can only pay more tax or pay my tax adequately based on the fact that I feel that the government is doing fine for me. Mm-hmm. For instance, in the local government that I reside in, there are no good roads. I fly those roads every day, they spoil my car, and I go to the mechanic. The money I'm meant to pay as tax, I spend it on my vehicle. What exactly does the state government, I know there are different kinds of government, but what exactly
does the local government?
Yes, plan for the local government to be active, because they are the ones closer to the people, actually. Those are my two questions.
Thank you so much for that one. Activities of local government, how can they be much more active for them to also help fulfill this T.H.E.M.E.S agenda? All right, then. We'll take that. And, of course, we'll still continue that conversation. One more before I get back to the commissioner. 0809-912-0777. Still on your side mirror this beautiful Tuesday morning. And we're reflecting on the T.H.E.M.E.S agenda, breaking it down, taking up the seal, and ensuring that you have a better understanding. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Andrew.
Andrew, how are you doing?
Fine, thank God.
Okay.
People have said well, two wrongs cannot make a right. If the government is not doing up to expectation, that does not mean one should not perform a civic duty.
Right.
That's my own perspective about it. We should try our best. The government will do their best. They need prayers too, because they are human. This other side, I want to say, local government, some officials, I would say some officials of local government, because when I come across them, I ask them for their identity. They will say they work for the local government. I'll see an identification there, even if it is fake, in quotes, ID card, or the one made by man, because all is made by men, but the one made by themselves. They use it to work. They say they are contractors doing parking and catching people, arresting people for violating traffic light and so on. That is on one side. I'm always concerned about safety and security. Safety now in the sense that containerized vehicles, not tankers now, holding sway at mile 2.
Okay.
Mile 2, if you are coming from Orile, there is a road that goes to, if you're going to Oshodi from Orile, from Sualaba, if you don't want to climb the ram, you take a right to Oshodi. That axis before under the bridge, about 300-400 meters within that axis.
Right.
Now, all those open spaces there, 20-footer containers, they are all filled up there. They are security risk. They are security risk. I know why I'm saying that. That is one. And two,
quickly.
They cause a blind spot for oncoming vehicles descending the Ram Bridge down to Badagry. Okay. That's another one. And those people that are doing carrying trailers and containers to Apapa, what is the government doing about it?
All right, then. We're taking note of all those concerns. Thank you so much, Andrew. And let's return the baton back to the commissioner. Quickly respond to some of these concerns that I raised before we drill on the consultative forum which you guys had.
Okay, I'd like to thank Sam, Peter, Muyiwa, and Andrew calling in. It's a pleasure always to hear. Things are not perfect, but I think it's important that we acknowledge the fact that we understand what you're saying and we're doing quite a lot around it. So the issue of area boys is always a challenge. In a mega city like Lagos, where you have a lot of people coming into Lagos to to better their lives, what you find out, right, is that you have a lot of people that are within the metropolis that do not have anything in particular to do. And what we say is that we'll continue to try and create platforms that improve employment.
So do you have anything for them in terms of
today, for example, our unemployment ratio is about 16%.
Okay,
is much lower than that of the federal government, which is about 23%. Right. So the way we are positioning the budget is to position it in a manner that will give people opportunity to work, right? So there are several steps we are taking. We said we moved a lot of budget into agric. We are going to increase our rehabilitate our agric food production center and get a lot of people who are willing to work to go in that direction. We put quite a lot of budget on the infrastructure development. In fact, while all of that things came down, that did not come down.
All right.
The idea around that is that construction also has the ability to attract a lot of employment.
In terms of job creation,
Then I talked earlier about what we are doing in technology. Technology doesn't require you really to go all the way to university to be able to be a programmer. So you can develop those skills and do quite a lot in the digital space. Is the reason why we're also driving technology. But you will also have a part of that family group called miscreants that really do not want to work. They are just criminal elements. And
so what will you be doing to those ones?
Yeah, the law will take its place. We just take charge of those ones. And so we'll encourage a lot of people to go into working. It's important also that when people come to Lagos, Lagos is not the place to be idle.
Right. Let me quickly take some from this one from Peter Adebayo, who said, what is government doing about transparency and accountability? Quickly.
Yeah, I mean, transparency and accountability is at the heart of what we're doing. Right. When you see me coming to talk to you on the radio station, that's about transparency. We put out our budget. We have what we call a citizens budget to ensure that citizens understand what we are doing. In our Public Procurement Act and agency, we are putting out all the time the contracts, right, that are going out for bid so that people can participate in it.
All right.
But beyond that, we are also subscribed to third-party reviews. So we've subjected ourselves also to World Bank reviews under the State's Fiscal Transparency, Accountability and Sustainability Act, who is also saying, look, how transparent are you? Make an adjustment here and make an adjustment there. And I'm glad to say that we are getting past all the hurdles that, not hurdles, what I would call the framework and the levels of transparency that they do require.
Let's talk about
beyond that, it's important for transparency to citizens must continue to engage in this way. And so that those blighted areas, those dark spots that we're not seeing, everything comes to light and we're able to move.
All right, let's talk about local government and how they can be much more effective. What's this government doing to ensure that they, serve the people more?
Well, you said local government, so that is a different form of government, right? What we are doing as a state is that we're collaborating very actively with them. We're intervening in primary schools together with them and the federal government. We're intervening in their own infrastructure. Today, we're flagging off about 377 interventions in all 377 wards of this state. All right, all of those are local government action. Right, that the state is undertaking. But beyond that, the citizens must take deeper interest in local governments. So just as they talk to the states around their expectation, they to talk to their local government chairman and participate at the local level, which is where government is closest.
All right, I have just barely 1 minute for us to get out of this studio. So quickly, safety and security concerns, as Andrew has put it out. What is government doing in that regard?
Well, there's a lot of conversation going. When you begin to move towards the Mile 2, the Apapa area, it's a cooperation and a delicate balance between what the state will do and what the federal government will do with the Nigerian Ports Authority and the concessionaires.
All right, so
we've had a series of meetings already. We are trying to create trailer parks for people, for these teams to get out of the road, right? We had a meeting again just yesterday to say, listen, you must commit to the quality of your trailers. Don't use wrong capacity heads to carry bigger capacity trailers that you currently do. So it's about habits and about behaviors, and those who fall out of line. You recall the one that failed, right, and crushed a bus. We're prosecuting them. People must take responsibility. Their cars must be insured, and they must pay.
All right, Charlie Gotchans will be very happy to hear that such persons are being prosecuted. So one liner as we round up the program this morning: the Economic Consultative Forum you guys had, what's it meant to do?
It's one of the platforms of engagement of the citizens. We are going through all the zones, the Egube zones of Lagos State, and engaging with the people, the traditional rulers, civic organizations, and all parties to tell us what they see, to show us what they think we're not seeing or paying attention to also communicate to us what they need for us to include in the budget that will support their overall well-being.
Right.
We're listening to them. Today we'll be talking to those from Egube, the team from Egube, because they are all part of the team Lagos.
Okay.
We'll be talking to them today and listening really to them. Mr. Governor did promise that when Lagos speaks, Sanwo-Olu listens.
That's right.
And that's what the consultative forum is
And
about.
that is a very, very suitable point for us to end this conversation. I wish this conversation can continue because it's a delight to have you, and this can go on for the next 3 hours. And I know that Honourable Sam Egube will never be tired. It's nice having you in the studio, by the way. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, then. So the Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget has been able to take us to school this morning, especially as relates to taking up the seal that relates to the T.H.E.M.E.S Agenda. All right, so like we said, you can continue that conversation on our social media platform at Lagos Traffic 961, or you can still put your comments on Facebook. I know most of you had lots of them. Sorry we couldn't take that this morning. But let me appreciate our producer this morning. That's Korede Bamishile. Thank you so much. And our executive producer, Tayo Akonle. Not forgetting our own person from the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. Thank you so much for making this possible. We want to say a very big thank you to you. All right, so the program will return tomorrow morning by 9 o'clock. But till then, this is Victor Terry. Have a splendid day. Bye.
The light is red, the light is red, the happy person